Welcome, Patricia, to the program.
Thank you very much indeed.
Now, in this era of COVID, we have increasingly seen the importance of digital communication. As the world has moved online, so we are seeing some schools teaching their children online. We are already seeing a lot of people consuming information online. What will be the role of technology in the Commonwealth, and especially for developing countries like Kenya post-COVID?
Well, what we've already seen is with all of us, because of the social distancing, because we're not able to touch and feel each other in the way in which we did, we have all had to go online. So, for example, we in the Commonwealth Secretariat had been getting ready for this new digitalized world. And we had created a platform which would enable us to not only communicate with each other and with our member states, and to do what we're doing now, that is having interviews online, but we were able to move all our services onto a digital platform. And so if you look at what COVID has done, it's made the digitalization of our systems so much more important, because it is the only way for many of us that we can communicate with those we love, we can do business, and we can carry on producing things in a way that will be different. But that's causing huge difficulties because there is a significant digital divide. Some of our countries still only have 2G, some have 3G, some have 4G, some are migrating to 5G. And that disparity is something that we really have to challenge and look at if we are to make sure we don't leave people behind. And that significant divide is important because 18% of our people living in low-income Commonwealth countries have internet access, compared to 85% in high-income countries. Now, if all our people are going to have to compete, that is something that we are going to have to address. In fact, just 6 of our members, that's the UK, Canada, Australia, India, Singapore, and Malaysia, account for 85% of the total online sales to customers. The same 6 make up 98.8% of the Commonwealth's total high-tech exports. So there is real scope here for Africa to engage. Women also often suffer a double-digit divide. In poorer countries where there are 14% less likely than men to own their own mobile phone. This means that 200 million fewer women lose out on the benefits like finding information or managing their money online. Nonetheless, I think there is a tremendous opportunity because achieving 50% penetration across the Commonwealth would raise members' combined national income from 74 billion to 263 billion. And I saw for myself when I was in Kenya, the impact that this digitalization, this access to internet can have to our people, particularly our women. I remember going to see a number of women who were making beads, you know, the beautiful necklaces and the headbands, but they were sharing information. They had some of the mothers were staying back to look after the children, but they were shopping effectively online with the other women who went to town, who were choosing the beads, who were saying how much money, and they were also selling their produce online. They were looking to see which market would be better, and the ability to sell their product online and to receive the money online was making a massive difference to those women, their ability to look after their children, look after themselves, pay for school, and pay for equipment. So these things are not just technical, they're real. If our people are to take advantage of these opportunities, the digital divide has to be challenged. But there is such hope. When I went with one of the young men back to his village, and it was a very traditional village there, they didn't have running water, but what he had round his neck was a mobile phone. And I asked him, well, what is he using the mobile phone for? And he was doing a master's in engineering, but he was doing that master's and he was able to use the mobile connectivity to do his classes and to make communications. So that is how getting the internet into all of our homes for our children, our young people, our men and our women, to be able to have access to information and to trade. That's why it is so important. And I think what Kenya has done, what the President Uhuru Kenyatta is doing to make sure that all parts of Kenya will have that interconnectivity, I think that's vitally important. And it's also important that he has put proper focus on making sure we women have a proper say, we women are around the table and are helping to make the decisions, because if we are not included, if our voices aren't heard, then the solutions that we need in this new innovative world will not be as good as we could make them if all of us have a voice.
Okay, I want to take you from the question where you say there's need to close this digital divide. You also spoke about some countries in the Commonwealth are still on 2G, while others are already on 4G and moving into 5G. What needs to be done to upscale populations with skills that they need to cope in this digital era, if we are to close the digital divide?
Well, I think there's a real opportunity for us to collaborate one with the other. For example, Kenya is a leader on the African continent in innovation, and we need innovation. Amongst the African nation, as I said, Kenya is ranked second after South Africa on the 2019 Commonwealth Innovation Index and 12th in the whole world. So amongst the middle income countries, Kenya is one of the 3 Commonwealth countries, along with India and South Africa, that are performing above expectations for their income level in terms of innovation on the Global Innovation Index. So talented and tech-savvy youth make up a significant proportion of the Kenyan population. The median age, as I said, in Kenya is 20. So a Kenyan, and I'll just give you an example of some of the brilliant young Kenyans who are making the difference. One of your Kenyan nationals, a young man called John Oroko, he was one of the 15 winners of the first ever Commonwealth Innovation Awards in 2019. Now he founded Selina, I think it's called Wamahusi, an inclusive mobile phone-driven digital platform and social enterprise for smallholder farmers, which has made such a difference. It helps them manage products, increase trade, and provides information to enhance the quality of their produce. And Kenya has led the African continent in financial innovation for more than a decade with its revolutionary mobile money service, M-Pesa, which has been used, is used now, I think, by 2 out of 5 Kenyans. So this collaboration, this innovation, this opportunity to really find the new technical things that we need is what's driving it. And if you look at what we're doing here in the Commonwealth with our connectivity agenda and the work that we're doing on fintech, these issues, this collaborative approach is what's making such a difference. And therefore, I really have to commend Kenya for its early response to COVID, because that has also demonstrated the innovation and the opportunity that there's there. And it's making that leadership role, that communication, that opportunity to collaborate I think has really been extraordinary. But if you look at, and I'm going to take COVID as one of the areas for innovation, the scientific opportunity for us to share. So Ghana, Memorial Institute for Medical Research, has sequenced the genome of COVID. Then we have the medicine delivery via drones. The drone company Zipline has pioneered medical deliveries to rural communities in Rwanda and Ghana. Its lightweight drones deliver vital packages to clinics up to 85 kilometers away. So trips that might have taken an entire day could take 30 minutes or less by drone. And this opportunity, what the Kenyan banks are now doing, which is waiving bank fees for individuals who move money from their bank account and their mobile wallet, and that came into effect. Now that is all technology, but really putting its hands into the homes of people, helping them to do better. And so these technological advantages is really making a difference. But then if you look at the Continental Solidarity Anti-COVID-19 Fund, which has been advocated in Africa, that too has brought innovation. So ICT and innovation is at the very heart of the Commonwealth's reform program and our vision for the future. And if we are to have this smart Commonwealth, it will focus on digital connectivity. So investing in a digital infrastructure, promoting smart solutions for health, for education, for agriculture, and upskilling our population so that no one is left behind, not our young people, not our people, but not our older people either, because it's been so exciting to see our older people, some 80, 90-year-olds, using Skype, using the digitalization, using their mobile phones, talking to their friends and family so far away, but delivering services. So I think when we're thinking of digitalization, we could see this as something for everyone, not just for the young, but everyone now is getting tech savvy. And that's what we have to do if we are to help people to take advantage of this fourth industrial revolution and to make sure none of us get left behind. But as I was saying earlier, it's important for us to address the digital gap, because unless we do, we're not going to be able to get there. So what we in the Commonwealth Secretariat are doing is we're helping our countries, supporting them to think about how do we invest in the broadband infrastructure, promoting, enabling policy and regulatory framework, and exploring the upskilling of our young people in STEM subjects, that's science, technology, and maths, and the digital skills that they're going to need. So that I introduced the Secretary General's Commonwealth Innovation Awards, and they were launched last year to recognize the resourcefulness, the creativity of our young people from right across the Commonwealth, and to give them an opportunity to shine. Now, the state of the digital economy in the Commonwealth report, which was launched in February of this year, that the Commonwealth launched it through the connectivity agenda, aims to, for instance, support Kenya and other Commonwealth member states to develop national digital economies. And if we can come together, if we can share the information that each of us knows, what we're trying to do is to say, if one of us spends $1, a penny, a paisa, a rupee, then let's hope that no other country has to spend the same dollar or penny or rupee, because we can share things that work, but what we're also sharing are things that do not work, so that we only have to make the mistake once, and it is really working. If you go onto our Commonwealth website, which is thecommonwealth.org, you will see our Commonwealth Innovation Hub. So there are 54 of us, and we are sharing everything we have.
Okay, I think I have three questions. I have one on innovation, one on reaching out to people, and then I will come to the awards. But before I do that, you're watching Take on Tech, coming to you from KBC Channel 1, a program that comes to you every week. Now, Patricia, you spoke about leaving behind certain populations, and especially women. You talked about 200 women in the world have been left behind and are not benefiting from, this information society or this digital, inclusion. So I am just wondering, when we speak, and you spoke about the need to include them. So when we speak about inclusiveness in development, and there's the digital divide that's leaving out these populations from benefiting from technology. As the Commonwealth and as the Secretary General of the Commonwealth, how are you addressing this?
Well, we are working really very closely with each of our countries. And I want to thank Professor Kobia, who is the minister in charge of government administration, but she also chaired the Women Affairs Ministers meeting in Kenya last year, because we as a Commonwealth family are coming together to see how we address these issues of women. And I really want to praise what your president, Uhuru Kenyatta, has done, because he's put some very powerful women in charge of some very important agendas. So there is Professor Kobia, but there's also your Minister for Foreign Affairs, your Minister for Defense, your Minister for Sport, the great Amina Mohammed, there's Rachel, Monica. All of these women are coming together to make sure that the women's voice is heard. And that contribution has been really felt. So when we came to Nairobi last year in 2019, we looked at the issues that impact on women. We looked at domestic violence. We looked at women's opportunity to participate in trade. We looked at women's opportunity in terms of climate change and all the different aspects. And Professor Kobia has asked me to call another meeting of the Women Affairs ministers, because what we want is for women not to be left behind as a result of this COVID-19 pandemic, because it's so easy for some of the awards, some of the advances that we've made for women to slip back. If you look at what's happening when our girls are no longer at school, we're noticing that it's the boys who are spending more time on the internet, and girls are so often doing more of the housework and the homework. So if they're doing that, what about their ability to study? So this is looking at the very practical things, but thinking what policies, what practices, what improvements can we make to make sure that when we're implementing the best practice, that we are making sure that our girls and our women are included. If you look at what India has just done, in terms of using the same technology that I'm sure they borrowed from Kenya's M-Pesa, but making sure that so many of the poor have a zero bank account, and then giving them an individual identifier, and then paying money directly into their hands. So many technological solutions are being found to get over some of the very basic problems. We know, for example, and I've been very worried about it, and I know the ministers right across the Commonwealth have been worried, the fact that domestic violence during this lockdown has trebled in some cases. And in many countries, the number of women who are dying have doubled. So these are the things that we have to look at. And our tracker, not only the coronavirus response center tracker is tracking COVID, but we are also tracking the other sustainable development goals. We are looking at the impact that it's having on climate change. We're looking at the impact it's having on our women, on our children, on our business, on our trade. Because right now, after COVID, we know that we're going to have the climate crisis, and Kenya has already started to suffer that. You saw the storms where more than 100 people died, but there's also locusts going across Africa. And you've just seen the damage that's been caused in the Pacific from the cyclone, the damage that's caused in India and Bangladesh from this, the worst cyclone that they've ever seen, and we've got hurricanes coming. So all of these tracking is really important to make a difference, a practical difference.
Now, you talked about the Commonwealth Awards for Innovation, and Kenya is one country that is a hub of innovation. There are many other innovations apart from M-Pesa. There are many others that are touching ordinary people. Now, how can these ordinary young innovators also participate in the awards? Or are they eligible? And if they are, how do they get to know that the Commonwealth has this out so that they can also present themselves?
Well, I think one of the most exciting things is that the Commonwealth Youth Network is extensive. Almost anything that a young person is interested in, we have a Commonwealth Youth Network which deals with it. So I would say to all young Kenyans, please look at our website, look at what we're doing, and look at these opportunities and take them, because there is so much genius within Kenya. We were breathtaking, the number of fantastic young people who came forward. Also, we have another £250,000 worth of awards coming up that people will be able to apply for. So please keep an eye out on our website, follow us, and make sure young people take advantage. Because you know what they say, you have to be in it to win it. And a number of Kenyan young people have really taken advantage of it. The Commonwealth Fund is working with the Global Innovation Fund to create a Commonwealth financing facility. We're looking at creating a £25 million hybrid investment fund to scale up impactful innovations in our member countries. And we are seeking to make a real difference. And there are two young people I can tell you about, one in Jamaica, one in India. The Jamaican young man has found a way of creating a doorknob which is self-sanitizing, which would reduce the germs going into schools and businesses and hospitals potentially by more than 99%. He's a genius, this young man. There's another...
sorry, let me interrupt you. Is that, has he innovated that during this COVID time?
No, and what's wonderful is I remembered him because last year I had the privilege of giving him he was one of the award winners. I also had a privilege of giving an award to a young Indian young man who created an ability for neonates, for those who are neonatal units are very few and far between. So he created a little tube which helps a baby, a premature baby, to live long enough, to breathe long enough, to help with the respiratory system, to keep them when they go from the home where quite often they're born and to the neonate unit. Now, these sorts of innovations were innovations that our brilliant young people came up with last year. But may God bless them, because these are the sorts of innovations that we now need today when things are so hard and where everybody is scrambling to see how we can help our young people, but how we can help all of our people survived COVID. We need their innovations. So I felt so proud that I had been able to meet these two young people amongst many others. And we were able to not only celebrate what they were doing, but remember that they'd done it, to go back to them to say, this might be the opportunity when your innovation will not just save the lives of the people in your country, they could save the lives of our people right across the Commonwealth. And that's why I mentioned also the Kenyan young person that got his award. His award has made such a difference to farmers, but the farmers need that sort of innovation even more today when food security has become such a real problem. So these are opportunities that we really have, and we have to have strong progress in developing the e-governance. And that has really played an important role in building the digital trust in Kenya. This has been facilitated through the efforts of the digital service delivery to citizens, the increased type of and quality of information available digitally, and it's really enhanced the government's ability to ensure transparency and support anti-corruption efforts through digitalization. So these are the sorts of innovations that, yes, they've happened in Kenya, but they can really help all of the Commonwealth to get there a little more quickly than we would if we were just struggling on our own. So this great success in pioneering, for instance, the mobile money in I think it was 2006 that Kenya did that, has revolutionized how things happen now. And it's these type of innovations that we need to find, develop, share, if we're going to have the connectivity that will enable us to meet all the 2030 sustainable goals that we've set ourselves.
Okay, thanks for that. There is also an issue you touched on, and that is on digital economy. You know that Kenya has actually now a blueprint on the digital economy. I am not sure that the Commonwealth has had a look at that, and if so, how do you think then Kenya can strengthen that its aspirations, in that area of digital economy?
Well, Kenya has been working closely with the Commonwealth Secretariat on a number of these issues. And we've been so impressed and enthused by what Kenya has done, because Kenya is really one of our leaders in this sphere. And the initiative and the way in which Kenya has been using the digital technologies, for example, in manufacturing. The Mega Industries, that's an automotive firm that has invested heavily in modern technologies and moved from manufacturing of transport equipment and parts to full transport seating and van conversions, which is more sophisticated and value added in nature. It's just one of the examples. But the investment in digital technologies has really helped people like Fun Kids on SME manufacturing children's furniture in Kenya to expand to regional markets, which is now being sold, things are being sold in Uganda and Rwanda. And through mass production of goods and extract specifications. But also Kenya's got the use of computer-aided design and computer-aided manufacturing technologies. And that's been helped by the new Wide Garments, a garment manufacturer in Kenya, to diversify into new product lines and meet international standards and expand exports to the United States and the African Growth and Opportunity Act. And M-Farms in Kenya is providing online exchange platform to connect buyers and farmers selling agricultural products. And these are all Commonwealth leading initiatives. And it's particularly good, therefore, to see that they are originating from Kenya's private sector. But this environment of using technologically powered innovative instruments to get real challenging changes which are successful. All of that has been coming from Kenya. So we are really excited about what we're doing with you. Kenya is active, as I'm sure you know, and is a very engaged partner in the Commonwealth Blue Charter. It's part, and Kenya leads the Commonwealth Blue Charter Action Group on Sustainable Blue Economy, which aims to develop an integrated approach to the sustainable development, use of ocean resources to economic growth and improved livelihoods and ocean health. And when we came to Kenya, there was this wonderful exhibition where they had the most gorgeous women's clothing made out of fish scales. It was stunning. So that sort of innovation is really electrifying people's aspirations of what can be done. It's cutting edge. And Kenya is a member of 3 of our working groups or clusters under the Commonwealth Connectivity Agenda. Kenya's in digital connectivity, regulatory connectivity, and physical connectivity. And that contribution that we can make to all our 54 understanding is really making a difference. I've been talking a lot about pooling the understanding from the different countries so that we can accelerate our improvements. And through the Hub and Spokes program, which wrapped up in December 2019, Commonwealth supported Kenya in developing its first ever national strategy to combat illicit trade. And Kenya has hosted so many of our meetings. I've spoken already about the 12th Women's Ministers meeting in September 2019, but Kenya also hosted the 2nd Intra-Commonwealth SME Summit on business to showcase the products and services and network the private, the public sector services, the small and medium-sized enterprises are responsible, as you know, for more than 80% of Africa's employment and 50% of its GDP. So the way in which Kenya has led on this has been very important, but also you are going to host our Education Ministers Conference next year in 2021. So there's a multiplicity of threads that are all coming together, which links the work we're doing on Commonwealth connectivity with the work we're doing on climate, with the work we're doing on women, with the work we're doing on children, with the work we're doing on iTech. And if you look at our trade, if we're going to meet the needs of all our people.
Now, let's go to this virtual post-COVID world. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that we have to have a smarter way of dealing with all these intersecting problems. We know that the pandemic is not all we have to deal with. Right now, and we've touched upon it, the world is facing a climatic crisis. That crisis is getting sharper and heavier. The fact that those 2 intersecting crises are happening together will have a real impact on our economic future. We already are estimating that the cost of the pandemic, and that's not including the climatic crisis, is going to be in the region of $2 trillion. The impact on our developing world, if you exclude China, is going to be about 220 billion at least. That is going to have potentially a really detrimental impact on all of us, because the money that we would have had in a fast-growing economy to deliver on the aspirations that we've given ourselves is going to be materially undermined. So we now have to look at things that we did not have to look at so trenchantly before. High tech is going to be one of the things that are likely to help us to get out of trouble. If you look at what happened in 2008 and 2009, the last aspiration, we had an economic crisis. The Commonwealth came together and was able, through working, to improve the trade figures and get ourselves back up more quickly. We knew last year that we have, amongst our Commonwealth, $700 billion worth of intra-Commonwealth trade. We had hopes of increasing that trade to 2 trillion by 2030. But we now know that COVID will have had a negative impact on us. So we have to look at the tools that we have now in order to combat it. One of those tools is going to be getting ourselves more ready for this fourth industrial revolution. It's going to mean that we are going to have to put all our courage, all our intelligence, all our energy into this digitalized world, because that's where our future is smarter. We're going to have to use STEM, and we're going to have to develop the TVET, the technical educational training, to make sure that our young people have the skills to take advantage of this new technological world. If we don't do that, we will fail our young children. We will fail our tomorrow. And I think that the way in which we're working together right across the Commonwealth, improving, working, this means that in our Commonwealth we have hope. I think that hope is upon us working together, taking advantage of the opportunities, making sure our women are included. We're 50% of the population. If you do not provide enough space for our women to participate, we will never get where we want to be. So if you look at all the things we're doing, the coronavirus tracker, the innovation hub, the disaster response mechanism, our opportunity to enhance the fact that we're doing the living land coming now, to look at how we manage our land properly, the opportunities that's coming from our climate finance access hub, so we can get the money we need to support our blue and our green economy. All of those things we need to do to enhance the digital economy, because that, I think, is what's going to help us to meet the real needs that we have today.
Okay, Patricia, we're about to close the program, but I would like you to give us some closing remarks.
Well, the first thing that I want to say is I hope and pray that everyone who is looking at this broadcast is safe. I want to thank the government of Kenya and the leadership of Uhuru Kenyatta, not just for what he is doing for Kenya, but what he is doing as a member of our Commonwealth. Because what we have seen is that the innovation that's coming from Kenya, the energy that's coming from the young people, the solidarity that has been shown. If you look at the way in which your media has come together, the people who've been in all of the programs that have been launched by Amini Mohammed, the sportsmen and women, your musicians, this solidarity really matters. And it's through the solidarity of the Commonwealth countries that we think that we will deliver a more digital, transformed, better future. So I want people to be hopeful, knowing that this solidarity that Kenyans have shown and the innovation that Kenya has already made such a difference. And so God bless Kenya.
Thank you very much, Patricia. We have been talking to Patricia Scotland, the Secretary General of the Commonwealth. and she was talking to us about a post-COVID virtual world. Thank you so much for joining us. She joined us online, and you have been watching Take on Tech. And until next week when we have another program, my name is Grace Gidaiga. Goodbye.